అందరికీ నమస్కారములు. Today is the second day of our classes on Artha by Dr. Nagaraja garu. Yesterday we had introduction of this subject in detail, and today we will go into the topic in more details one by one, and we have another 2 days left. Tomorrow will not be this subject. Day after tomorrow again we will have it, and then on 2nd of next month. We will start this session by paying respects to our country by reciting Vande Mataram by Challa Chittibabu garu. Challa Chittibabu garu, please.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Sufalam, Malayajasitalam, Sasya Syamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram. Subrajosna pulakitayaminim Pullakusumita drumadala shobhinim Suhasinim Sumadhura bhashinim Sukhadam varadam mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. ధన్యవాదములండి. Now let us request Lakshmi garu to chant Prarthana, please.
Sarvebhyo Namo Namaha. 1 minute meditation, 3 times Omkaram, followed by Prarthana. गणपति हवामहे कविं कवीनाम् उपमश्रवस्तम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत श्रीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः. ॐ सरस्वती
Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajevirvajinivati Dhinam Avitriyavatu Om Sri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha Gurureva Gati Gurumeva Bhaje Gurunaiva Sahasmi Namo Gurave Na Guru Paramam Shishurasmi Guru Matirasti Guru Mam Pahi Guru Jnananandamayam Devam निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय ओम शांति 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 मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव आचार्य देवो भव अतिथि देवो भव ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम
हरि ओम శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. ధన్యవాదములండి చల్లా చిరిబాబు గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. నౌ let us request our Guruji, Dr. Taranam Nagaraja Rao garu, to start the webinar, please.
शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्याये सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Today, good morning everybody. Today is our second class on Kautilya's Arthashastra. Yesterday we had discussed elaborately the introduction part of Arthashastra. What is there in Arthashastra? What is the meaning of Arthashastra? Who wrote Arthashastra? What is the purpose of writing that Arthashastra? Background. These type of things. Why this Arthashastra was necessary at that time? These type of issues, because the strong central government was the need of the hour in those days because of the physical condition that was prevailing in the situation at the time. That was the background. So normally king will be the focus point and he has to be taken care of. So king is given lot of importance and his personal security, his way of doing things and all those things were given lot of prominence compared to any other dignitary or any other person in Kautilya's Arthashastra. King is the focal point. In that way it has been written down because a strong despotic ruler is required in those days in order to save the country from external aggression and also to have the internal security and all these things. It was found necessary in those days. So Kautilya's Arthashastra came in that aspect. In this background it has come. Okay, when it is a background of Arthashastra, today what we would like to discuss is that more focus on king. If that is a greatness, suppose in the entire country there is one person is even more important in the prominence, means how he should be, how he should be selected, what are the qualifications of that king, and how, what are the functions of the king, how he has to delineate his total day of the work into different aspects, and what is his relationship with his princess, what is his relationship with his queens, and how, what is his relationship with the population. These type of things we need to discuss because king is the focal point in the Arthashastra aspect. This is one aspect. That is why what we are going to discuss today is the central administration with king as head. Now also even students of political science, what they will be reading is that the government, they will be studying Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. It is one subject matter normally. Any textbook if you take for BA or MA textbooks or any other textbooks on political science, they will be discussing Prime Minister and Council of Ministers is one big topic will be there. So today also we will be discussing king and his ministers, some king and his purohit, king and his population, this type of things, various dealings with the king. Those type of things we'll be discussing today. Over and above, we need to discuss some other aspects in order to understand the structure of the state. There are two terms which we need to remember. One is called state and one is called a nation. Normally, we will be calling both in the same sense. We will be calling India, is it a state or is it a nation? So this type of things will be coming up. Normally, nation, the idea of nation has cropped up in western part of civilization, western areas, that is called Europe and whatever those things are there. The nation concept has emerged only in the 17th, 18th century only, when Napoleon Bonaparte started attacking all other kingdoms in Europe. That was the situation when people were having some sort of nationalism, what we can call nation state, nation. What is meant by nation and what is meant by state? There are what are the key elements of the state and what are the key elements of the nation? These are the things also we need to discuss. Because in order to understand Kautilya's Arthashastra, what is a nation? Nation is actually, it is a concept wherein people residing in a particular area will be having some sort of common culture will be there. You need to remember all these things. Maybe some points because you are going to write an examination also. Some of these things may be asked by the examiners who don't know. Nation means normally they should be having, of course, what I am trying to tell is that maybe there are many people who may be knowing all this terminology. Maybe some people who were yesterday, one person was an advocate, he was also in the audience. So maybe these persons will be knowing all these things already. But normal people who are not exposed to the subject matter of political science, they may be having little understanding. They need to understand these type of things. Nation is normally a concept wherein people will be having common culture, common language, common identity, and something of common nature, maybe language and all these things. Suppose if you go to some place, whether I am some person belonging to Telugu speaking person or Kannada speaking person, and we have some common culture, structure, and all this is common festivals are there, common way of gathering. People will be gathering at a certain common events. These type of things, something of commonness, homogeneity should be there. That is called, if that is there, that is called a nation. They may be having a territory and they may not be having a territory, that is also there. But state is something different. A state is a place, it will be having some key elements will be there. According to modern political thinking, modern ideas of the political thinkers, modern political thinkers feel that a state should be having at least 4 elements. One is called population, people should be there. Territory should be there, population, territory, and government should be there. Without territory, it cannot be called a state. A territory, the defined borders and all these things should be there. That is, a territory should be there. In that, population should be there. And also there should be population, territory, government should be there in order to administer all these persons should be there. And moreover, sovereignty should be there. That is more important. Sovereignty distinguishes the state from any other entity. Suppose we are an organization, some organization will be there. In this some organization, they may be having population may be there. Suppose we have some people gathering together, that is called population is there. They are in a defined area, they are there. Maybe Bangalore, take into consideration, I am in Bangalore. So Bangalore is there. In the entire area, Bangalore people are there. Territory is there. The government is there. But here there is no sovereignty. Sovereignty is there, not there. But India as a whole, if you take into consideration, there is a territory is there, defined territory is there from Himalayas to Setu, this Kanyakumari, maybe this side Gujarat and this side some other part of Assam, whatever it may be. That is that one. That entire area is there. This is the defined area is there. People are there. And over and above what we are having is that government is there. At the head of this country, we are having in Delhi, we are having the government, central government is there. And sovereignty is also there. What is a sovereignty? These four things, if it is there, that is called state. That is the thinking of the modern political thinkers. But why I am discussing this one is that whether this subject has been discussed in Kautilya's Arthashastra or not. So that is the reason why we will be I am telling the background of state. Nation is not like that. The nation is need not be having a territory. So I can give you an example of maybe Second World War. Before Second World War, the people of Palestine, now what is called Israel, they were actually separated into different parts of the world as a whole because of the people say that Hitler was actually giving a lot of trouble for these people and many other reasons. The Jews were spread across the world, but still they were a nation. Nation means they were having a common identity, common culture, common language, and all these things were there. But they don't have the state because the common territory is not there and the sovereignty was not there. They are spread across the other places. When Second World War ended, at that time what happened is that the Americans and other people wanted to create an entity for all these Jewish people in the middle of the Arabic countries. So they created Israel. When they created Israel, what happened is that it is a new entity at that time. The Israel was recognized by America and other countries immediately. And people across the world, Jews who are residing across the world, immediately came there and settled down in that Israel area, now the Israel area. They are the people, because of the geopolitical reasons, all these things were done at that time. Because one thing is that Jews required a state, one thing, because they were actually diffused to different parts of the world by different reasons. So they needed a state. That is one thing. The second thing is that if they are there at that spot, they may be having what is called a foot point for USA in order to control the entire area. Maybe that is maybe the geopolitical reason. All these strategic and geopolitical reasons made America to create Israel at that particular point of time. So Israel will be having all the time from the beginning of the state formation. It is having conflicts with other countries of Arabic countries, that is Muslim countries across the area, and this is a history. So like that is a nation. Even having without the territory also it is a nation. So whether this type of nation, state, these type of things were discussed in Kautilya's Arthashastra, means we are having that theory maybe in 300 BC itself. That is what I propose to tell. Because whatever the knowledge the people were having in 17th and 18th century political thinkers, that administrative knowledge was there in Arthashastra. That was my idea of telling this aspect. So what is the theory that was there in Kautilya's Arthashastra? Because it is, as all of you know, maybe you will be listening to one aspect, Saptanga Yuta Rajya. So Sapta Angas should be there. Sapta Angas should be there. What are those Sapta Angas? That is Saptanga Yuta Rajyam. This is one aspect today I would like to discuss. This is also I would like to discuss. What is Saptanga Yuta Rajyam? Please, anybody knows means it is actually it is good. Saptanga Yuta Rajya. What we can call is that 7 aspects of this what we can call Rajyam, Saptangaita Rajya. What are the Saptangas? Because Kautilya was mentioning that a state should be having 7 elements. When in Western thinkers were saying that it is only 4 elements of state will be there, but he was discussing 7 elements of this administrative structure. What is called is it is called, he was discussing that Saptanga Yuta Rajya. Normally we will be telling. Then it is called, one is called Swami. Swami is the head. Swami means it is actually king. King is called Swami. Then after king we are having Janapada. Janapada is actually, he was denoting actually Janapada. Janapada means it is actually not necessarily population. It is also resources also he was mentioning. Resources and also population. So this is called what we can call, he combined population and territory into one single word, which is called population. Population, Janapada. Janapada means Jana and also this person. Both put together is called Janapada. Population and territory put together, he has discussed it as Janapada. So Swami, Janapada, and also what we can call government, that is called the central government also he has discussed, and also administrative people also he has mentioned. And then he was also mentioning 1 minute, I need to see, because there are 7 aspects, Saptangavita Rajyam, 7 angas. Yonihi Yoga Vrittam. Because this is actually Artha Shastra, they are spread across different places, it is spread. That is why we here and there we need to see. I have noted down in one place, but it is what are the 7 angas? Now I got it. Swami, as I told, is a ruler, that is king. Then Amatya, that is called ministers, that is there. Janapada, population and also territory. Then we are having Durga. Durga means forts, that also he has discussed. Not necessarily a territory. In the territory itself, again there should be forts should be there. And he has mentioned different forts which we will be discussing at the end of the class. And then we are having Kosha, treasury should be there. Kosha means treasury, you know. Kosha Adhyaksha we will be calling now and then. Kosha means a treasury. Danda. Danda means that is called army and military is called Danda. Danda. There is the different definitions of Danda. With Danda only he has to rule the country, like that it is also mentioned in some other area. Definition of Danda is also there. Then Mitra, that is called allies. Allies means the friendly state should be there. These are the 7 limbs of the states or 7 elements of the states Kautilya has discussed. So you need to remember this is 7 angas, Saptangayuta theory of Kautilya, like that people will be telling. Then what is Saptangas? You can note down also if you want. Swami, that is called ruler, one person. Amatya or minister is one thing. What is the difference between Amatya and Mantri also I will be telling today only. Maybe anyway, broadly you can write down it as Mantri or Amatya, you can write down that is called Mantri. And Janapada, which is called a population and territory. Population, he was telling that population with resources, he will be telling, Kautilya will be defining in that aspect. And there are Durga. Durga means fort. Jala Durga, Vana Durga, Dhanvana Durga, like that many other things as discussed. Yesterday also we discussed. Jala Durga, it is surrounded by water only. Vana Durga, it is surrounded by forest. Dhanvana Durga, it is surrounded by what is called deserts. And we are having also one more Durga, which is the Durga, which is called Daivata Durga. Daivaka Durga means it is a natural boundary wherein ups and downs will be there in the state, so that the penetration of the Shatrus, that is called enemies, will be very difficult. Daivika Durga, that is also there. Like this, he has discussed Durgas also. Durga also should be there in order to call it as a state. Kosha, because without treasury, all these things cannot be maintained. So Kosha is there. And also Danda, without army, military people should be there. Standing army is also discussed by Kautilya. Believe it or not, in Mauryan administration, we see the standing army. Subsequent kings, what happened is that until Chandragupta Maurya was there, prior to Chandragupta Maurya also, when Nanda dynasty was there, the standing army was discussed. And subsequently, Kautilya also discussed standing army. Standing army means they are not standing like that, because always they will be there, whether work is there or not, they will be there like that. Standing army should be there. And subsequently, the standing army was maintained by till Ashoka time. When Ashoka embraced Buddhism, what happened is that the subsequent rulers, they started removing the entire army people, and they used to depend on this provincial people. Provincial in provinces also there will be some people, heads will be there. The heads will be maintaining some army. In case the central government, central ruler wants to have the army, he used to summon all these Samanta Rajas. Samanta Rajas means people who are feudatories. He is what is called all persons who are serving under him. All these persons he used to command, please bring your army, please bring your army, like that. Those people he used to supply this army. So what has happened is that the feudatory structure, feudatory culture has started. So sometimes if any person is actually any prince or some other person who is ruling some distant part of the headquarters, if he is going to rebel, he may not send the army. So what will happen at the central government? Central government has become, is going on becoming weak. When it is going on becoming weak, it has actually started inviting the foreign people for attacking India. In that way, India has started losing all these things, what is called the power, prestige, and all these things. Prestige was there, of course, cultural prestige and all those things were there. But politically, we are becoming very weak subsequently because of the strong central government started diminishing after Ashoka. This is also we need to remember because Kautilya Sakta Shastra, that is why he was advocating a standing army should be there. That is called always military should be there, always army should be there. If they are not there, what will happen is that the central government will become weak and king has to depend on some other person for the army. That should not happen. So this, he was advocating this army and military also he was advocating. And he was also advocating the last element of the state is called Mitra, which is called allies. Mitra means he should be having friends. Who are those friends? Where the friends should be there? Because he should maintain friendly relationship with some kings. What are those kings and all these things we will be discussing in Mandala Yoni theory will be there. Subsequently we will be discussing on some other day. In that time we will be discussing Mandala Yoni. And in that what is the Mandalam? Which king he should be having a friendship and all these things we will be discussing at that time. This is idea of the kingdom, and this is called Saptangayuta Rajya theory. This you need to remember. And the Saptangayuta Rajya concept was known to Kautilya. It was known to earlier thinkers also. Yajnavalkya Smriti also, it is vaguely it is mentioned. So Saptanga, because even now also we are having Panchanga, we will be calling. Panchanga means the book which we will be saying, text, wherein we will be having Panchangas. Panchangas will be there. That is a different Angas. But these Panchangas cannot be compared with Saptanga. That is why we are having a small story, Denal Ramakrishna story is there. Of course, it is not, of course, our subject matter. Briefly, because Panchanga, Saptanga, no, this is just briefly I will be telling. Sometime in the story goes like this. One great scholar came to the court of Krishna Deva Raya and he was saying that I am the great, if anybody is going to argue with me and if they win, it is great. If they don't win, the entire kingdom I shall possess, like that. And he started arguing with the ministers and immediately he defeated all the Ashtadikgajas. That is 8 luminaries defeated. When he defeated, what happened? King has to forego the kingdom. A story only. At that time, Tenala Ramakrishna thought of a plan. The next day he came there. And he came as a great sannyasi, something of that nature. This Pandit also prostrated before him. At the time, he was asking, anyway, you have gained Saptanga Yuta Rajya, you have gained. Out of Saptanga Yuta Rajya, give me at least 3 Angas. Then the rest of the things I will give you, like that. So then he said, whichever Anga you want, you can take out of Saptangayuta Rajya, because he has already taken possession of the kingdom of Vijayanagara. So out of the Saptangas, whichever you want, you can take, like that. Okay, I will be taking 3 and I will be giving you Panchangas, like that, he told. And he gave a basket full of Panchangas to that Pandit and he sent him away, like that. A story goes like this. So that Panchanga is different and the Saptanga is different, which you need to remember. Of course, this is a small story, of course, a deviation from the subject matter. Anyway, this is Saptangas you need to remember. This theory of Saptanga was known to the people in the 300th century BC, means what is administrative knowledge India was possessing at that time, that we need to remember. This is one aspect. The second aspect is that now coming to the subject matter today, what is it today we are going to discuss? The king is the focal point we were discussing. What is the king and what should be the what are his qualifications? This is more important. The qualifications of the king is very, very important because you need to understand who should be the king. When we are discussing the king is a focal point, he cannot be some randomly, you can't pick some person out of the blue and put him as a king. So he should be having some knowledge should be there, which we are not having even today also. We don't think of this aspect. Whereas the political thinkers of 3rd century BC, they thought of an idea of giving some training to a person before installing him as a king. That was the greatness of our political thought. Indian political thought was such that in over a period of years, long back, they thought of an idea wherein the person who is going to head the entire state, who is going to be at the helm of affairs, he should be having some knowledge, some training should be there. Without training, he can't become what is called a king. That was the idea. So that is why only Chanukya has actually given out one entire Adhikaranam, that is called one entire big book, only for the king he has given. Here he was mentioning that he should be trained in a systematic way, in certain disciplines. What are those disciplines? He will be mentioning those disciplines. And Anvi, Chaki, Trai, something of that nature, I will be telling 1 minute. Because all this is a Sanskrit, it is there. I don't want to rely on what we can call these translations. So I would like to see the original ones only. So here he has mentioned because why he was mentioning is that there is one more theory, a small theory is also there. How the state has emerged. This is also one of the theories, state emergence. This is also a very important aspect which we remember before going to the subject matter of the training. State, how it has emerged. Kautilya feels that prior to the emergence of this nation state, what we can call territory, and then people, then government and sovereignty, and before this discussing all these things, he was telling that the people should also having what we can call earlier coming to this state emergence of the state, there was Matsya Nyaya was prevailing in the entire country. Which means Matsya means big fish eating the small fish, which means that higher the big people who are having power of the muzzle, he was controlling the other person. A person who was having the power of the purse, he was controlling the other person. So in that way, the entire system was there. There was no rule and order. There was no what is called rule of law was not prevailing in those days. At the time, people came together and they selected one leader. This is who is called Manu. In that way, the kingship has arisen like that. He describes the origin of the state. He discussed in that fashion how the state has emerged. But Western thinkers, most of the thinkers feel that it is actually contract theory. The one person they selected and then they entered into a contract. This contract aspect is not there in Kautilya's Arthashastra, which we need to remember. Then once the state has emerged, he feels like that. Then the king's son, maybe he will be having the same type of training and all these things. Then only he will be given the kingship. And Kautilya also mentions that if at all any king's son he is not capable enough to understand the subject matter of the training, and if he is not understanding those subjects, and if he is not behaving properly, he should not be enthroned as a king. He should be removed, and some other person should be installed as a king. That is also he has mentioned. We have one reference in Mahabharata also, in wherein Gangavataranam one subject is there, wherein we come across a story wherein the king was having one son, Asamanjasa was there. The Asamanjasa was not following the rule of law. He was killing the innocent children and all these things he was doing. So the king, instead of enthroning him as a king, he banished him from the entire area. Like that one story we come across. So these ideas of Mahabharata, all those things were also taken by Kautilya, and he was mentioning that a person who is not having that knowledge should not be installed as a king, because Vidya Vinito Raja hi Prajanam Vinaye Rataha, like that he will be telling. Vidya Vinito Raja hi Prajana Vinaye Rataha. The person, the king who is disciplined through the study of sciences, he only can get engaged, he can only install the same type of discipline in his subjects, and he can rule those people. Otherwise, he cannot rule the people. He should be having that thing. So, what is this Vidya? And he will be mentioning that Anvichaki Trayi Varta Dandanitihi Cha Iti Vidyaha. Like that, he gives a definition. What are the things he has to study? Anvichaki Trayi, the four things he has to study. Four things he should be very expert in these four areas. King should be expert in these four areas. Otherwise, he cannot be a king. Anvichake, Trayi, Varta, Dandaniti, Cha iti Vidyaha. Like that he gives a definition. But what is Anvichaki again? Anvichaki, Trayi. What is Anvichaki? What is Trayi? What is Varta? What is Dandaniti? These things also we need to understand. What is this? The Anvichaki? Anvichaki means, he says that the Sankhya, Yoga, and Lokayatam, these three things put together is called Anvichaki. There is some definition is there. Let us see if I can able to I can find it immediately. Sankhya, Yoga, Lokayatam. These three things put together is called Anvichaki. Sankhya Yoga and Sankhya system you may be knowing, because Vedas, Vedangas, the introductory part of these things you already been discussed in your classes. So Sankhya, it is a system of darsanas. Out of the shed darsanas, it is one of the darsanas. Sankhya, which normally deals with the philosophical aspects of the administration, philosophy and all these things. Yoga, yoga. Yoga means not necessarily this is asanas and all these things. Yoga is your yama, niyama, dharana, dhyana, pranayama, pratyahara, samadhi. All these things put together is called yoga. So Sankhya, Yoga, then also Lokayatam also you should know. Lokayatam means it is actually related to Charvaka system of philosophy. Where nowadays we say that it is called Charvaka, as you all of you know, he is an atheist, not believing in the Vedic dictums and all these things. Veda Pramana he will not agree. Normally, again, there is some confusion with Astika and Astika theories. Who is Astika and Nastika? Commonly, we will be telling that Astika means the person who believes in God, and the Nastika is a person who does not believe in God. Like that, we will be telling. Normally, many persons will be having that opinion. It's not like that. Astika is actually the person who believes in the Pramana of Vedas, who believes that Vedas are Pramanas. Nastika system is that actually Nastika is a person who does not feel the pramana of Vedic pramana, because Vedas he will denounce. He will not agree with whatever that Vedas tell. It is not the question of God and all these things will not come into the picture. That is an Astika theory. This is an Astika theory. Lokayatam is an Astika theory propounded by Charvaka. But still, in those days, that Charvaka philosophy was also very much relevant and important, and it was given more prominence. That is why now it is not given more importance. In those days, it was given importance. That is why Kautilya says that these three things put together, Sankhya, Yoga, and Lokayatam, put together is called Anvichaki. The king should be having knowledge in the system. Why Anvichaki? They again says that Anvichaki, out of these three things, Anvichaki is more important. Pradipah sarvavidyanam upayah sarvakarmanam ashayah sarvadharmanam shashvat anvichaki mata, which means that the philosophical inquiry, that is the philosophical inquiry anvichaki, is a light. It is like a light that shows proper meaning to all vidyas, like that he says. Only the person who is having that philosophical bent of mind, who is having that expertise in Sankhya, Yoga, and what is called Lokayatam, that type of knowledge will be giving a light to the king for understanding other vidyas, techniques, and all these things. Like that, you will be mentioning for understanding dharma, artha, kama, and all these things. Only this Anvichaki will be helping. This is the philosophical bent of the mind of the king only will be showing the proper light in order to understand these subject matters. Some sort of what is called philosophical king aspect, Rajarshi, what we will be calling. This concept we come across in 3rd century BC only. Aristotle was actually he was a contemporary of Kautilya. When Kautilya was here, Aristotle was there in Greek as a city. Then here he was also advocating the and his guru was Plato. Plato and Aristotle, they were advocating. Plato was particularly, he was advocating of the concept of philosophical king. King should be a philosopher. Only the philosopher should rule the country, not other persons, like that he was advocating. So the idea of philosopher king ruling the country was very much prevailing, maybe that time in different other civilized communities, maybe in other civilized parts of the world, maybe Greece, Mesopotamian civilization, then Greek civilization, and all those areas, this philosopher king concept may be prevailing. That we may, that is why only Kautilya was also advocating philosopher king concept. So Anvichaki was given more important. Out of the three, Anvichaki, Trayi, Varta, Dandaniti. Out of these things, he was mentioning these four things, and Anvichaki was given more important. Anvichaki is consisting of 3 parts, which I told. Then Trayi, what is Trayi? The second one is called Trayi. Trayi means 3 Vedas. 3 Vedas. What are the 3 Vedas? Rigveda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda. He has mentioned, he has not mentioned Dharvana Veda. Most of the earlier thinkers, they used to mention it was not Chaturveda, they were never mentioning. They were mentioning Trayi Veda only, they were mentioning. The 4th Veda is actually part and parcel of take into consideration. It is actually some subject matter which is not so much relevant. That is why they were not giving more importance. That is, it is also included in these Vedas, maybe. In that way, they were thinking Trayi means 3 Vedas. And also, Kautilya, peculiarly, he was defining these Trayi as 3 Vedas and also Upanishads, Vedangas, all these things and Itihasas all put together is called Trayi, he was telling. So then everything will be coming into the picture. Itihasas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, 3 Vedas, Vedangas, all these things put together is called Trayi. That is how he defines Trayi. So Trayi is something of that nature because Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge means this is knowledge that is imbibed in Vedas. Veda means all dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all these things he should know. That is one thing. Trayi. He should be well versed in Trayi. Then Varta. What is this Varta? Varta is what we can call Varta. Some definition is there again. Then Varta. Varta means this is called animal husbandry. Then agriculture, animal husbandry, trade, all these things, which are the means for earning money, for earning wealth. This is called all these put together. Vyavasayam, Pashupalanam, Vartakam, like that it is mentioned. That is called agriculture, animal husbandry, and trade. All these 3 things put together, what is called Varta. Varta, from Varta only this term Vartaka has come into the picture. Varta. Varta is, this is the definition of Varta, which is there not only in Kautilya Arthashastra, in different other old texts. Varta means it is not nowadays we feel that Varta means it is something that is sent from one area to other area. Varta. That is called in news, something of that nature we will be discussing. So the meaning of Varta in those periods is not like that. Varta means all these 3 things put together. Vyavasayam, Pashupalanam, and Vartakam. These 3 things, what is called agriculture, animal husbandry, and also trade. All these put together is called what is called Varta. Then after Varta, Trayi is over. Trayi is over, Varta is over. Anvichaki, Trayi, Varta, then Dandaniti. Dandaniti is actually given more importance by Kautilya because this is through Danda only he can administer the state. All other 3 things, Anvichaki, Trayi, and Varta, all these things will be in harmony. They will be going in a good fashion. Only if Danda is there. If Danda is not there, people will behave in a different fashion. What is Danda? Here Danda means punishment, like that. Punishment means he has to always give punishment. Punishment, if without punishment, people will not fear. That is the idea that was advocated by Kautilya long back. Even now also that danda is given more important, because we will be crossing the road. When we cross the road, if police is there, our behavior is different. If police is not there, our behavior is something different. So that is that was actually, that's a human psychological structure. He could understand in the 3rd century BC only. And he was telling that danda should be always there. And how much danda should be there, how much punishment is to be given. So the way Kautilya discusses the entire Kautilya Shastra is that wherever it is discusses any subject matter, important subject matter, he discusses what other people have told earlier. What other people have told earlier, then he will be telling his viewpoint, like that he will be telling. So he will be telling that there are different persons he will be invoking, the persons who are already discussed this danda, then he will be discussing those persons, all those persons he will be discussing, and then he will be coming to the conclusion that no, this is not correct, this is what I am thinking, like that he will be telling. So here danda means the other people who was discussing Pishuna, then Bruhaspati, Shukracharya, this type of persons he will be mentioning. These type of persons have discussed these issues. Some people will be telling that the danda should be very strong, very Tishna danda should be there. Some people will be telling that no, it's Tishna danda. If you give, people will fear and they will run away from the state and go to some other state. Because in those days, people were having the liberty to go on to different other areas, because each is a different state entity, something of that nature. The entire country was not under a single state in many times. Only in Mauryan administration we come across, maybe in subsequently Gupta area, one or two Samudragupta and other persons conquered the entire India. Rest of the persons never conquered entire India. So that was the idea. Maybe until the emergence of Muslim conquest. There were only few persons actually ruled the entire country. Not all people. Even Akbar, what we can tell, he has not ruled the entire country. Only few parts of the country only. So that is his state. People can run away from one state to other state. Because of this reason, Tishna Danda should not be given, some people were telling. But there are, what is a Danda should be there? Then he was telling that moderate danda should be there. If moderate danda is not there, Matsyanyayam will prevail all the time, because the big fish will eat away the small fish. The person who was having strong person will always defeat this weak person. Like that he will be telling. So Kautilya says that Tishna dando hi bhutanam udvejaniyah mrududandaha paribhuyate yathartha dandaha pujyaha. Like that he says. What is that means? He says that Tishna dando hi bhutanam udvejaniyah. Tishna danda, if we give punishment in a strict fashion, in a big the punishment is given, bhutanam udvejaniya, people will fear and they will go away. Mrudu dandaha paribhuyate, if it is the punishment is given in a lighter fashion, people will not listen to the king. So what is the danda? Yathartha dandaha pujyaha. Then only the person will be respected. The people will be respecting the king. Otherwise, people will either hate the king or never care the king, and they will. And if it is given more danda, people will run away. If less danda is given, less punishment is given, they don't care the king. And so what is the importance is that yathartha dandaha pujyaha. So what is appropriate danda at the particular point of time only should be given. This is the idea. Because why this knowledge is required? This knowledge is required for the king, because a king, before giving a punishment, he should be having that philosophical backup should be there. Philosophical backup, Sankhya, Yoga and Lokayatam, all these subject matters he will be knowing. He will be knowing Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, aspects of Vedas, that he will be knowing. He will be knowing Varnashrama Dharmas, he will be knowing from Vedic literature, he will be knowing. Because the king is supposed to maintain what is called Varnashrama Dharmas, he has to maintain. So in order to maintain the entire structure, social order, what we can call entire social order in the entire society, he need to know the social structure prevailing in that particular period of time, that is there. Varnashrama dharma he has to maintain. Why Varnashrama dharma? Some people nowadays people will be commenting that Varnashrama dharma is actually irrelevant subject matter, which was there, which is actually the very curse for this caste system and all these things. Here also I can tell you one thing. Imagine a Varnashrama dharma with the modern concept of what we can call an office, common office which we go today also. What we can see in an office, if you go to a government office, something of that nature, or private institution, whatever it may be, what would be the structure there? There will be an organization will be there. In the organization, then head of the person will be there. He is actually compare him as a ruler, the branch manager or something of that nature. The person he compare him as a ruler. He will be ruling because his rule is ultimately final. Whatever he says, all other persons has to follow. He is the ruler of the state. That is called king. Then what is called? It is called Swami, whatever it may be. Then the entire people put together is called Janapada. That is one aspect. Then what we can have, there are four structures will be there all the time. One is called, there is one person who will be always assisting the branch manager in giving good ideas. Good ideas he will be giving. Maybe software persons nowadays. The person will be always giving the information which is very, very much important for the purpose of the survival of the entire, because if it is a software institution, software company, maybe supplying software to some other countries, whatever it may be, then the software is more important. The branch manager need to depend on those persons. They will be given more importance, more prominence, and they will be given more salaries and all these things. Then we will also come across, there is marketing people will be there. They are what we can call the king is there. That is called king. King is at the Kshatriya is the king, and the software person is a Brahmin, and then Vaishya community can be compared as a marketing manager and all those persons. There are some persons who are in the office structure, even now also the people are there, who can't understand that subject matter. They can't read the entire BTech subject or whatever it may be, software and all these things, they can't understand. And at the same time, they cannot be the rulers. At the same time, they can't do the marketing also. They can only, what we can call, they can serve, they can bring coffee, tea and all this is to the office, and they can do some other activities, sweeping of the office. And whether he is important or not, every person is important. If he does not sweep, office cannot run. If he cannot bring the coffee and other aspects to these persons cannot function. This is Varnashrama Dharma in the societal aspect. In the bigger society, the system was organized in that fashion. Varnas were created in that fashion. There are some persons who will not be earning at all. In those days, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, four Varnas were there. Each person, Kautilya has defined their duties. What is the duty of a Brahmin? Yajnam, Yajanam, and also what he has to do, he has to perform the yajnas for the sake of the others. Persons, he has to perform the yajnas, and also he has to help other persons in doing the yajnas. Yajanam he has to do, and also he has to give teachings to the what is called good ideas he has to teach. Suppose a king goes in a wrong fashion, he should say that it is not according to Trayi. He should say that it is not according to Anvichaki. You have to follow the systems and all this. Since he is called Brahmin, then he can be called as a Brahmin. Then there is what is called Kshatriya. King is a Kshatriya. He will be ruling the country, protecting the people from other outside aggression, and all this administrating the entire state. He is called this rule of the functions of the Kshatriyas he has mentioned. The functions of the Shudras he has mentioned. The functions of the Vartakas, Vaishyas he has mentioned, which is called Vyavasayam, Pashupalanam, and also what is called trade, Vartakam. All these things he has mentioned. Pashupalanam and Vyavasayam and Vartakam he has mentioned for Vaishyas. They have to do that activity. Krushi, Goraksha, all these things they have to do. And there are some people who can't do any of these activities. They are put as Shudras. Like that, this is Varna system has happened. That is why only Krishna also will be telling in Bhagavad Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Like that he will be telling. According to Guna and also Karma, whatever the part of the work he is doing, I am giving this particular duty. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Look, I have divided the entire society in that fashion. Like that he will be telling. That is a actual Varna. That is actually thought of. Because there are some people who can't do anything, this can be designated. Nowadays, it is not like what we can call. Nowadays, it has degenerated into caste system, which we cannot compare to Varna system. All this is we have to understand while understanding the Kautilya Sartha Shastra. Kautilya also mentioned these 4 varnas he will be mentioning, and the 4 varnas, duties of these 4 varnas he has mentioned. And a Shudra person's son need not be a Shudra, and a Brahmin son need not be a Brahmin. This is the broad concept that was prevailing in those days. That is why only Mahabharata and other places also we come across the same theory we come across. But what happened over a period of years is that it has degenerated into caste system, which is bad, of course, but this varna system was not bad. That is why only wherever the king aspect is discussed, the king's very duty. What is the duty of the king? Means he has to maintain the varnashrama system, varnashrama dharmas. He has to maintain that varna dharmas and also ashrama dharmas. 4 ashramas it is mentioned in our Trayi, that is called Vedas. It is mentioned. One is called Brahmacharya, then Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. All these things are discussed. Brahmacharya is actually he has to study only, no other activity. Grihastha is the person who is to indulge in what we can call, he has to marry, he has to support the entire structure. He has to support the entire structure by feeding the people, by feeding the scholarly people, by feeding the brahmacharis, by feeding all atithis and all these things. He has to do yajnas, yagas for the sake of the society. He has to distribute money, and he has to do dhanam, and all these things are called the Grihastha dharmas. This is what we can call. The subsequent one is called Vanaprastha. He has to take a retirement stage, go there, meditate, and all this is Vanaprastha stage. And then sannyasi is advocated only for Brahmins, not for other people, because of different reasons. That is not our subject matter. So this varnashrama dharmas also Kautilya mentions here, and he says that the duty of the king is to protect this varnashrama dharma. In order to protect varnashrama dharma is one of the basic duties of the king. If anybody is exceeding his limit, or if he is going or transgressing from his dharma to other dharma, he should be punished by the king. That is, king has to take care of all these persons. This is the idea. That is the reason we come across, what is the time? 7:29, almost coming. Okay, this is why this one way Chaki Trayi Varta Dandaniti. Okay, I will conclude in that fashion. So not elaborating. So Varnashrama dharmas, the importance of Varnashrama dharmas is like that. Then once this Varnashrama dharmas is mentioned, then that the importance of training we have given. Training is very much important. Without training, he should not be a king. He is called Rajarishi. Rajarishi, the Janaka is mentioned as Rajarishi. And once the king is selected in that fashion, the prince should be crowned as the king. Not all other persons should be crowned as king. Only this type of person should be crowned as a king. Then he should, the second important duty of the king is that he should appoint amatyas. That is called his ministers. Sahaya sadhyam rajatvam chakram ekam na pravartate. Like that he says. So kingdom or the administration of the entire kingdom can be possible only through, it is Sahaya Sadhyam. Only with the help only it can be done, not with any other means. That is what Chakram Ekam Navartate. A single wheel cannot move the chariot. That is the reason why he has to appoint ministers and also Amatya, Mantri and Amatyas. What are the qualities of Mantris? So much of discussion is there in this subject. What are the qualities of the mantri? Means he should be actually a person who is residing in the particular state. He is a native of that particular area, like that it is mentioned. Let us see where it is there. The different places it is there. Here Janapadaha, Abhijataha, Stovagraha, Krutashilpaha, Chachushman, Pragnaha, Dharaishnuhu, Dakshaha, Vagmi, Pragalpaha, Pratipattiman, Utsaha Prabhavayuktaha, Klesha Sahaha, Shuchihi, Maitraha, Drudhavaktihi, Shila Balarogya Sattva Samyuktaha, Stamba Chapalya Varjitaha, Sampriyaha, Like that, he has mentioned many things for the qualifications of the mantri. So this is also very important because in the administrative structure, mantri is even more important. So what is called Janapadaha means he belongs to the same state. Abhijataha, he should belong to a higher varna, he should belong to the higher varna. That person only can become the mantri. And then Swavagraha, if at all any error, he commits any error, he should be in a position to rectify his error fast. Krutasilpaha, he should be having expertise in Shilpa Sastram, he should be having expertise. Why I don't know, because to be frank, I referred many commentaries also, but they have not mentioned why Shilpa Shastram is required for a mantri. I don't know. Chachushman, then what is called? He should be Chachushman means he should be an expert in Artha Shastra area. Artha Shastra means entire Artha Shastra he should be having in his command. He should know what type of danda should be given at what point of time. What is the criminal justice? What is the civil justice? All these things you should know. That is called Chachushman. Prajnaha, that means he should be having a lot of knowledge. Dharaishtaha, that is Mapaka Shakti should be there for him. Dakshaha, he should be an efficient person. Vagmi means he should be a good person who is good skills in talking. Pragalbaha means Vakcha, Samaya Spurti, that is what we can call Pragalbaha meaning. Pragalba means he should have the wit, immediate wit at the particular point of time. If anybody talks, outsiders comes and talks to him, he should have a immediate wit should be there. That is called Pragalbaha should be there. Patipatiman, then that is called ready wit and all this is Utsaha Prabhava Yuktaha. That is called he should be always exhibiting Utsaham. That is, should be there. Klesha Sahaha, if at all any difficulty is there, tolerance to difficulties and all these things should be there. Shuchihi should be very clean. Maitraha should be very friendly. Dhruda Bhaktihi, that is more important. Bhakti should be there towards the king. Sheila, his character should be good. Bala should be, he should have the very good balam, and also Arogyam should be there. Sattva Samyuktaha, Stamba Chapalya Varjitaha. Stamba means here what is called stiffness. That is called what we can call one way. I go this way only, like that he should not be there. If at all any idea crops up among the mantris, he should be in a position to deviate from his own thinking and fall in line with other person's thinking also in times of necessity. That is called what we can call Stamba Chapalya Varjitaha. Sampriyaha, it should be attractive to all the persons, and all these things should be there for the mantri should be there. And here, when we compare the qualities of the king and qualities of the mantri, let us see our present day structure. If we see, are we following all these things? We are not following all these things because whatever the great ideas that were there in Chanakya Niti, Chanakya Arthashastra, we are not following. Even a king is elected, a prime minister, he may be having qualification or may not be having qualification. Any person can become a prime minister and any person can become a minister. And whether all these things are there or not, whether we are checking or not, we don't know. Everything is going according to some principles which are not necessarily should be used, maybe on the basis of caste, on the basis of other considerations, on his political affiliation, what is called his power of purse, and all these things are determining whether he is going to become a king minister or not. This is a sad state of affairs. Because of this reason, the administration that was prevailing in those days is not prevailing in nowadays because all these things we are not following. This is how the person has to be selected. Then what are his duties and all these things are mentioned. Here this is the mantri. Mantri is different from amatya, please. This we have to remember in Kautilya Satta Shastra. Normally we use both terms in a common fashion, but it's not like that. Mantri is this type of person is mantri. Mantris are only 2, 3 or 4 persons maximum should be there for the king, like that. 4 persons should be there. Because if it's only one person is there, he will be actually whatever he tells, king will be listening like that. And if there are 2 persons are there, the 2 persons may overcome the king. That is also there. And the 3 persons or 4 persons, if it is there, some common consensus can be arrived at. Because of this reason, king should be having these mantris. And king should not exceed the mantris at any particular point of time. At the same time, it has to be understood that king's order will be final. That is there. King's order will be final. But before taking the order, he has to consult the mantris in all aspects. John F. Kennedy, the president of America, used to tell, because 7 no's and 1 yes, and 1 yes will have it, like that he used to tell. He was having 7 ministers. 7 ministers, that is a Secretary of State, something like that they call. The 7 secretaries of state used to have, John F. Kennedy. Then he was one person. All put together, there used to be a meeting. In the meeting, all 7 persons will will be giving a different perspective from the perspective of the John F. Kennedy. Then John F. Kennedy, on occasion, he told in a humorous fashion, 7 no's and 1 yes, and 1 yes will have it, like that. So here also same thing. All mantris he has to consult. He should not take any decision without consulting the ministers. When consulting the ministers, he has to ask each minister why his opinion is like that. The reason he has to establish. Then ultimately the king has to take a decision. That is there. That is always there. That is king's supremacy is always maintained like that. Then over and all these mantris, we are having one Purohita concept is also there. Purohita is actually, if you means that just mentioned by Purohita, many people says that India was a theocratic country, theocracy. It was a theocracy, which means that it was always guided by Purohits, Brahmins, like that, and there was no administration. It should be understood in a different fashion. Purohita means Purohita. The meaning of Purohita itself we have not understood properly. Kautilya defines Purohita. What he says that Purohita, I will read out the Purohita meaning. Purohita se Puraha dhiyate iti Purohitaha. This is the meaning. Puraha dhiyate iti Purohitaha. The person who stands in front in all activities, that is called Purohita. Not necessarily officiating what we can call doing Satyanarayana Vratam in houses is not Purohita. That is what normally we understand. The person will be coming and he will be doing some pujas and all these things. He is Purohita, performing marriages and all this. He is not like that. Purohita is also expertise in all these Trayi, Varta, Dandaniti and all these subject matters. He also should study, and the person, he should be having in all karyas, that is called in all areas where king will be entering into, because the king is wanted to go for a conquest. Then the person who will be in front will be the Purohita. Puraha dhiyate iti Purohitaha. He has to take care of the king like a father, and he has to serve the king as a servant. This is the subject matter. This is the idea of Purohita. This Purohita, he has to appoint one Purohita should be there. For each king, Purohita should be there. At no point of time, king should, the Purohita, the duty of the Purohita is to foresee the difficulties or disasters that are going to happen and try to prevent them from different other means. Different other means maybe he has to advise the king in those aspects, or he has to use the things that are there in Atharva Veda, which means that mantra and also tantra and other areas. Those things also he has to administer, and because he is expertise in that knowledge, and he has to officiate as a priest, like present day priest function is there. No, those functions also he has to do for the king, and he should be the Purohita should be there. Purohita is given more importance and prominence. That doesn't mean that India is a theocracy governed by a Purohita, and king is only a puppet in his nature, like that. Kautilya is in fact a person who actually distinguished. He has actually taken out the secular state from the what is called clutches of what we can call in western areas, maybe up to 14th century or 15th century. Pope was the officiating person. Whatever Pope tells, king was he used to listen. That was the idea. Pope was having the supremacy, and king was not having the supremacy. Pope was having the supremacy. Only Louis XVI and other persons came in the France. At that time, they were declaring that the divine right of kingship is there, and we are the authority, something of that nature. They discussed it, and the authority of the Pope started diminishing. But here also the authority of the Purohit is there, but still he is actually, he has also to serve the king as a Brutya, like that he mentions. Both things are there. He has to support the king as a father, at the same time serve the king as a Brutya, that is also there. This is what the importance of Purohita is in that fashion only. And never Purohit was entering into the secular aspects of the administration. That is also there. This is called Purohita structure. So Amatyas he has to appoint, Purohita he has to appoint, and then all these persons he has to test all these persons. Mantris he has to test. And Amatyas, Mantri Amatyas, his difference is that Mantri is actually a person who will be a small portion, that is 3 or 4 persons. In that area, whoever that is there, he is Mantri. Amatya is a lesser mantri in the sense that he is actually presently what we can call administrators, that is called IAS officers, secretaries of the state, and all these persons put together, that is called administration, running the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy people are called Amatyas. These Amatyas are to be tested. They should be loyal. They should be having the integrity towards the state. They should be having the integrity towards the king, and they should not never deviate the orders of the king. That is the idea here. They should be tested. They should be tested by different ways. It is called allurements. Upada, what we can call Kama Upada, Dharma Upada, Artha Upada, Bhaya Upada, like that it is mentioned. It is called Kama Upada, means allurement with the ladies. And then whether he is falling to them, and then he is suppose a girl is sent to him, and the girl is alluring him, and then ask him to do certain activity. If he does it, he is not shuchi, like that. Similarly, kama upada, artha upada, giving him some bribery, and then test his integrity. Then bhaya upada, instigate some what is called fear in him. Say that the thing is that maybe king may be arresting some few bureaucrats. All bureaucrats, some person will be coming and telling that anyway you are so many people are there, why don't you rebel against the king, something of that nature. And then because they were already under the grip of fear, they may say yes, we will do something, some activity of that nature. Then they are not shuchi. If they say that no, at any point of time we don't go against the king, then he is a shuchi. Something of that nature. Bhaya upada, Artha upada, Kama upada, these type of things he has mentioned. This integrity of these persons are to be tested. I think time is already 7:45, maybe another 5 minutes only I will tell, because a lot of other things are there which we can't discuss today. Anyway, whatever that we can discuss, let us discuss in a, because instead of completion of the subject is not important. You are not the students of BA or MA students. It is actually understanding whatever little we are understanding in a better fashion. That is the idea here. So here, then he has to, king's other duty is that establishment of spice. He has to institute spice, and in all fields he has to go there, and he has to check all the administrators. And he has to administrators. Who are the administrators that I am not discussing today? So he has to see the integrity of all these persons' spice, and he has to listen to all those persons. Then in the monthly parishad, the discussion should happen all the time. Each day there should be a monthly parishad should be there. Karmana arambhopaya purusha dravya sampat desha kala vibhagaha vinipata pratikaraha karyasiddhi iti panchango mantra. In the deliberations, all these things, karmana arambha should be there. If anything king wants to do, and the approach to that particular project, karmana arambha upaya, they have to discuss. Then karmana arambha upaya, purusha dravya sampat, they have to discuss. Then what is importance? What are our strengths? Whether we are having the required human resources we are having or not, and the required people resources is there, required money resource is there. Well, suppose king wants to conquer some other country, just like that he cannot declare war. He has to karmana arambha upaya, purusha dravya sampat, whether necessary support is there from the people, necessary dravyam is there or not, that is money is there or not, purusha dravya sampat he has to discuss, they have to discuss. Desha kala vibhagaha, that is also important. And what is the timing that they should do? What is the place they should start that particular piece of work? This is the one they have to take into consideration. Then because vinipata pratikaraha. Vinipata pratikaraha means a complete list of risks. What are the risks that they are going to anticipate? That is disasters that they are going to anticipate. Suppose if you are going to make a conquest of a country, what are the risks that are going to be involved? And what are the mitigations for that? That they have to discuss it. They have to discuss. And a Karya Siddhi, and then Karya Siddhi means well-defined success plan. They have to discuss it. Well-defined success plan. They have to discuss. Karmana Arambhopaya, Purusha Dravya Sampath, Desha Kala Vibhagaha, Vinipata Pratikaraha, and Karya Siddhi. All these things, if all these things are there, iti Panchango Mantraha. This is called mantram. The person who gives this mantram to the king is called mantri. All these five aspects you should give. The mantri is a person who gives this important information to the king is called mantri. Amatyas are different. The amatyas are the persons who do the work as ordered by the king and mantris. That is called amatyas. They are called bureaucracy, what we can call nowadays. This is the five aspects of mantranga. Then what else is there? And he will be discussing and what is how the king should function in everyday day-to-day activities. Means he will be mentioning that the king, he is not an idle person, always a utsahavanta is called always enthusiastic person. He should be always enthusiastic, and he will be dividing the entire his time into 8 into morning times and 8 in the night times. Morning, what he should do, morning in 8 times, what he should do, it is been discussed. What are the things that he should do in the first 8 parts of the 8 parts? That is called 1.5 hours each, because 12 hours, 12 hours. No? In the first 12 hours, if we divide it into 8, 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour like that. In the first 1.5 hour, what he should do? In the second 1.5 hour, what he should do? In the third 1.5 hour, what he should do like that? It is discussed elaborately by Kautilya. Maybe what he has to discuss is that maybe, and if we read the Artha, we come to know that he may be sleeping only 3 to 4 hours only. The rest of the time he will be having the work. In the morning, early morning, what he should do? Early morning, the first hour, for example, what he should do is that he should discuss the matters relating to the receipts and expenses of the state. He has to discuss. That is important. That is the first important activity is that he has to see this receipts and expenses he has to see. The order is there. That is, time is not there for us to discuss all those things. Anyway, the broadly what he has to discuss is that in the morning times also he has to discuss this thing, and then he has to meet the mantris. Mantri Parishad meeting should be there. Then he has to do the activities of breakfast, and all this is put together. 1.5 hour only is given for bath, breakfast, and all this is only 1.5 hour is there. And also Sandhya Vandanam and all this is 1.5 hour is given to the king. Then if he is not following, what he has to should do, the Purohit should be there now. The Purohit has to always poke him, stating that your time is up, come out, come out. Your time is up, come out, like that. And then the fourth 1.5 hour, he has to meet the people who will be waiting for him. And he should be, whenever the court is there and people are visiting him at the time, he should not make the people wait for him at any point of time. He should meet them very immediately, he should meet them. And their problems he should solve on the spot with the help of mantris, and also this Purohit, he has to solve their problem and send them out like that. And he should not keep any person for more time in his area. This is also there. Then he has other duties like that, what we can call, he has to meet the spies, Gudacharis, and then discuss with them what are the aspects that are there. And then he has to meet the Sainyadya chart, 1.5 hour military aspects and all this is. He has to inspect the new ashwas, new gajas, that is called elephants, and also other things that are brought to the state. He has to inspect all those things personally, and he has to inspect the new recruitee, what is called army people. All these things he has to see, all those aspects he has to see, and then only 1.5 hour is spared for him for the purpose of what we can call some sort of entertainment and some sort of listening to music, and also what is called updating his knowledge and all these things. This is called structure of the morning time. Structure of the night time is also like that. And then then the time is up. That is why I will not be discussing all these 8 parts. And in the 8 parts also only he will be sleeping 2 parts only. That is 1.5 hour plus 1.5 hour only is given for the king for sleep. And ultimately with the ghosha of all the instruments, musical instruments, he will be waking up, and then he will be meeting the mantris, and then early day will start like that. So in that way, king should be very hard working person, and because the entire sovereignty is rest with him. because we have discussed population is there, territory is there, Janapada is there, everything is there. But we are having where is the sovereignty in India? I mean, in the Kautilya's concept means king is the personification of sovereignty. Because sovereignty, what is the definition of sovereignty? A sovereign is one person who does not take commands from any other person. Whatever command is there is the final one in this entire area. He need not rely on any other person. Sovereignty means he will not be under the influence of any external forces for taking any decision in the internal matters. That is called sovereignty. Suppose IMF is there. If it is dictating terms to us, stating that I am giving you $1 billion loan, but you have to do this activity, you have to do this activity, then the sovereignty is not there for us. Sovereignty means we are under the command of IMF. That should not be there. Sovereignty is a king who takes the decision on his own. You take the loan, that is a different issue, but don't listen to the commands of the IMF. You take the help of the USA for the purpose of fighting with Pakistan, but don't go by the dictates of the USA, something of that nature. That is what now government of India is also telling. That is truce that has happened between Pakistan and India is not happened because of the intervention of USA. It is our own decision they are telling. Our sovereignty is always there. The sovereignty is more important. The sovereignty rests with the king only in the days of Kautilya. So that is why the views of the state which are prevailing in nowadays was there in the long back like that. Then king's other duties are construction of the forts is there, his duties towards the princess is there, and his duties towards the harem. Harem means queens and all these things. Before discussing one important later aspect, I will be discussing. Later aspect I will be discussing because it is elaborate discussion is there. How he should treat with the queens, that I will be telling because it is some sort of interest is there. Queens are there, maybe one queen, maybe many queens will be there for the king. The queens, the queen will not be in the same room with the king. That is the idea. Queen should be separate part. King will be there, his place, and beside of the king, the rooms of the queens will be there. And queen's room, king will not enter. So these are things are there. Why the queen's room, king will not be enter? Queen may kill him. That is a queen, maybe different queens. Maybe the what is called jealousy may be there among the queens. One queen may plot against a king because he may be interested in some other queen, so he may be killed. Or king is going to elevate one person as Yuvaraja. At the time, one more queen may feel unhappy, and then she may try to kill this person like that. Or some other kings, what is it, like queen's relatives or somebody like that who are very much fond of making this queen as an important queen. He may hide, he has mentioned at least some 8 or 9 kings in those days who were killed by either the queen or the queen's relatives like that he has mentioned. So that is the reason king should not go to the chambers of the queen even in the nights, and then he will be aloof, he will be away from the queen. Then how he has to meet the queen? The queen has to come inside the king's room, and how her purity is to be saved by a Vruddha Vanita, like that one old lady, one old ladies should go there, test the queen whether she is Shuchi or not. Shuchi means cleanliness, not in the aspect of personal healthiness also should be there. And at the same time, they should check each and every part of the queen, whether she is possessing any dangerous thing with her. That is called any Vishapurita Padartha. That is called anything that is called laced with poison is there. Anything whether she is going to do for harming the king like that, she has to worship and she has to certify that today this girl is okay, this lady is okay for the king like that. That person has to be entered into the queen's chamber, not any other person. That is the reason I was wondering when I went to Jaipur and other places, forts, I was very much enthusiastic and fascinated to see these forts. When I go there, what happened is that the king's place, this is the king place, that is the queen's place they will be showing. These are the queens, particularly in Jaipur. There is one king who was maintaining 40 wives he was having. 40 different chambers were there in the backside. And then king's place is something different. And why this structure like that, I was wondering. Then with whom he was spending that particular night. But here the idea is that king will never go to the queen. One queen has to be worshipped by Vruddha Vanita, and that Vruddha Vanita has to come there. Because in many parts of the country, India particularly, Kautilya Sakta Shastra was followed by the kings. Many kings were following. The construction of Durga and all these things also according to the system that is prevailing in Kautilya Sakta Shastra. And how he has to construct the Durga and all these things. For paucity of time, I am not discussing. This is one aspect which I discussed because the personal safety of the king is more important because the sovereignty is rest with him. And if he is lost, there is much loss for the kingdom as a whole because of his danda only, he is protecting this Anvichaki, Trayi, Varta, and all these things are in tune. All people are in Varnashrama Dharma and all these things they are there in Varnashrama Dharma according to the rules, regulations, according to the Trayi they were following, and all the system is running because of one great gentleman. That gentleman is called Swami, and he is a person who is going to protect the entire from people from external aggression, and also he is to take care of the internal security of the people, and he has to administer the people. Because of this reason, this person's life is more important, and how he has to safeguard from the princess is also discussed. His own sons, how he has to treat, how they should be there like that, how to test their integrity and all this is those things elaborately you can read in the test. Today I would like to close my lecture, and if anything you want to ask, you can ask.
Thank you very much, Nagaraja Rao garu. We could not stop, but still we have to stop.
Yes, sir.
So, Babu garu, we can go for Prardhana now and then take up questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Nagaraja Rao garu. So, this is a very, very interesting again. And for a normal person, I mean, non-political science student, the Shastra is not known, in fact. So, it is very interesting for others. Now, Venkatarayana garu, are you there?
Can I say, sir? Sorry.
I'm not sure. Okay, you start off.
Shall I start, sir?
Yeah.
Namaskar. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अधनाः सधनाः सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतम् सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान् मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु स्वस्ति
ధన్యవాదాలండి సర్వే జన సుఖినో భవంతు స్వస్తి ధన్యవాదములు నౌ లెట్స్ గో ఫర్ జనగణమన చల్లా చిట్టిబాబు గారు ప్లీజ్
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Okay.
Sir, thing is that here today I am having some other work. Any questions are there? Can we take up on the next class?
Yeah, please. But then tomorrow have some time. Tomorrow, whenever the class is, have the time for the question and answers before 8 o'clock. Because
Otherwise, what we can tomorrow anyway. Tomorrow I will not be coming, sir.
yeah,
28th.
definitely.
We will be meeting on 29th only. We will be meeting.
Right.
And if at all any questions are there, the questions if you can send, and
Yeah.
I will be answering them, and then start. Or otherwise, I will close the session by 7 o'clock, only 7:10 like that, and take
Right.
up those questions. I will be taking up. Today some other work I am having, so that is the only reason.
Yeah. It's
Today I
okay.
will be.
Babu
You
garu.
can take the questions.
ధన్యవాదములండి ధన్యవాదములండి థ్యాంక్ యూ
Yes, sir.
సో
That
మచ్
we can do, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
ప్లీజ్
Okay,
వాట్
sir.
ఎవర్ కన్వీనియంట్ టు యూ విల్ గో బై దట్
Yes,
యా
sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
ఓకే థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ నౌ ఐ స్టార్ట్ ద రికార్డింగ్